Hi, welcome to Lessons with Cameron. In this video, we're going to tackle the subject of reading music on the treble staff. Classical music, gent, punk, jazz, death metal, even EDM can be notated on paper. Sometimes it's much easier to understand how a song is made and why something weird seems to just kind of work when you're reading it. Once you get the hang of it, it really does help you understand the inner workings of music and how to bend it to your will. So let's dig in. Music is written on a staff, and the staff's made up of 5 lines and 4 spaces. What the lines and spaces on the staff represent is based on which clef sign is placed on them. The most commonly used staffs would be the treble and the bass staffs. The treble staff is used for instruments generally above or the pitch of middle C, such as a clarinet or a trumpet, a guitar or flute or any of the higher instruments, and the bass staff is used for instruments that are generally below middle C, such as the bass or the tuba. The piano reads both staves at the same time, one for each hand, and this is called the grand staff, and they're usually joined by a brace. Each staff locates a specific note, and the rest of the notes will be named based on that particular note. First, let's look at the treble clef. When placed on a staff, the treble clef assigns certain notes to the staff. So the treble clef is sometimes also referred to as a G clef, because it helps us locate the note G above middle C. The treble clef swirls around the G line and creates a cross in the circle to identify the pitch G. Just for reference, that's your open G string, or your 3rd string on your guitar. This would make the space below it an F, and then the space above that G would be an A. Continuing on upward, it zigzags from line to space, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, etc. This may be a little rough to memorize all at once, so here are some tools musicians have been using for centuries to make it easier. The lines can be remembered with the saying, "Every good boy does fine," read from bottom to top. The spaces are easier to remember because they spell the word face from bottom to top. The handy part is the rhyme, "Every good boy does fine" for the lines, and face for spaces. Easy enough, right? Okay, so now we know what pitch we're going to make, but we have no idea how long to play it or when. This is where rhythm notation comes in. Different notes tell us how long to hold a note, and the line or space it's on tells us which note to play. So notes are placed on a staff to fill sections of the staff called measures or bars. And these bars will all contain the same number of beats or counts, and that number is determined by a pair of numbers at the beginning of the music called a time signature. Now, a time signature contains 2 pieces of information. The top number tells us how many counts are in a measure, and the bottom number tells us the kind of note that's going to get 1 beat. In most cases, the bottom number is a 4, which means the quarter note gets 1 beat. Now, the half note would be double that, and the whole note would be 4 times as long as the quarter. The most common time signature is 4/4, which tells us there are 4 beats per measure, and a quarter note gets 1 count. For the rest of this rhythm instruction, we'll stick with 4/4, also known as common time. A whole note will fill a whole measure of 4/4 time. Now this would mean to let the note ring out for an entire 4 counts without stopping. Now half of that would be a half note, which would then get 2 counts, and a quarter of that would get 1, and an eighth note, or an eighth of that, would get 1/2. To get shorter notes, simply keep cutting the notes in half, so a 16th note would get a quarter of a beat, and so on and so forth. A whole note placed on a second line of a treble staff would be telling us to play the sound of a 3rd open G string for 4 continuous counts. When we play music, we must count as we play to know where to properly place a note. We often do this subconsciously when we tap our foot to the beat of a song that we like. So keeping good time is not as easy as it seems, and it's not a natural skill that most have. It takes time and practice to be accurate. I often recommend to my students to use a tap feature on a metronome and continue tapping with the goal of keeping the tempo reading the same. If they can tap out a constant rhythm and not vary the beats per minute reading, then they've developed great timing. But be warned, this is extraordinarily difficult for the metronome to not fluctuate even slightly, even with great timing. So you want to keep the variance of the metronome within a few beats one way or another. It's frustrating, but that's mostly because the metronome is telling you exactly what you're doing wrong. It hurts, but no pain, no gain, right? Let's look at a couple pieces of easily recognized music and see if we can figure out what we're seeing. Here we've got a few notes plotted out on some staff, so let's take it all in and figure it all out. First, we need to check the clef sign. This is a treble clef, so the lines are E, G, B, D, F, and the spaces are F, A, C, E, face. The time signature is 4/4, so there are no surprises there. The first two notes are on the second line, so if we go up from the bottom line, we discover every for the first line, and then good for the second, so the note is G. That's the open third string, and if you're following along with your instrument, go ahead and play it. We've got two quarter notes here, and they're both on the same line, so we're just going to play two G notes, once with each tap of our foot. 1, 2. The next notes are found on the fourth line, which leads us to every good boy does. Does. So it's a D. We've got another pair of quarter notes, so the rhythm of these two notes will be the same as the G's before. We tap our foot and play two G's, the first two, and then the two D's with the second two taps. Next, we have two quarter notes in the top space, which is, if we go from the bottom, F, A, C, E. So it's E. We'll continue playing those two notes, and then we're going to finish up with a half note on the fourth line again, which we discovered earlier was a D. This one's going to be twice as long as the others, so we'll hold it out while we tap two taps of the foot. This melody is the opening phrase of one of the most famous pieces of music of all time. Next, we'll look at another well-known piece that is a little more seasonal. So here we're starting with 3 E's, 2 quarters and a half. And this means we'll play an E on our first tap, our second tap, and on our third tap, but we'll let that last one ring and out until we finish tap 4. In the next measure, it looks the same, so guess what? It is the same. Do it again. After that, we see E and then a note sitting on top of the staff, which is clearly above our top line, which we already know is F. Every good boy does. Fine. Now with 5 lines and 4 spaces, we can only cover 9 notes, and just about every instrument has more than 9 notes. So we'll need to be able to go up and down much further and cover the whole range of the instrument. As we step up from the top line of F, the next note lands in the space above it and is just the next letter of the alphabet going up. So it's a G. A, B, C, D, E, F, G. After that, we'll add a little line to show us how far up from the staff a note is placed. We call these ledger lines. So above G, we'd add a line, we find A. On top of that line, we would have B. Then we add a second line, and that's C. Above that would be D, and so on. The same is true below the staff, except that it goes down. This is why I recommend my students practice saying the musical alphabet up, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and going down, G, F, E, D, C, B, A. Since music can go both ways, and many students struggle to figure out quickly what note comes before F, for example, so it can be helpful. So the remaining notes are C and D, with the final note being a whole note E, which we'll let ring for 4 counts, or 4 taps. If you've been following along, it should sound something like this. Yes, there is still much more to reading music, but this tutorial should help to clear away some of the fog that makes reading music a scary task for some. The best practice is starting with some simple music and practicing reading the notes. Don't worry about playing them so much until you feel pretty confident you can figure them out. If you work on too many skills at one time, sometimes you can fail to progress at any of them, so it can be helpful to divide and conquer your musical enemies. Be sure to like, subscribe, and share this video with your musician friends, and let's all learn to speak the same language. Thanks for tuning in. This is Lessons with Cameron.